should have said at the beginning, I'll say it 100 times. I'm just speaking to myself. No one should ever think, and I hope if you know me, that you wouldn't think that this guy is standing up there because he's already perfected his marriage and he knows all about Shalom Bayis. It's based garnish from garnish. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to myself. Time and children. You're learning with your son, but you're not listening. You have no time to really ask them about their day. Their day is only a kid. Who cares? Who cares what it is? Is that important? It sure is. It sure is, and he feels it. He feels it. He knows it. She knows it. Just the way a husband and wife greet one another. The time and the chashivas put into it. Husband comes home from a hard day and his wife greets him and shows him how happy she is to see him. Someone said that the way you greet your husband, or the way you greet your wife should be no worse. But specifically, a wife greeting a husband should be no worse than the way you would greet your cleaning lady after a 3-day Yom Tov. You know what that means? When you say hello on the phone to your husband or to your wife, there are different ways to say hello. Yeah, what? I'm busy. Yeah, what? I'm in the middle. I told you not to call me. Right? That's the good way. And the bad way is just to hang up in the middle. I'm just kidding. But to say, hi, how are you? I was thinking about you. How's your day going? With a simcha, with a joy, with appreciation. In those few words of that Shalom Aleichem, you could show all of the chashivas that you give to this relationship. And it engenders such a tremendous feeling in the other party. With a few words, just a few words. My Rabbi used to speak always about how Shalom Aleichem in general shows that you give cover to the other person, you recognize his existence. Otherwise, he's like the story of the nurse who barged into the doctor's office and she said, "Doctor, come quickly, there's a man outside who thinks he's invisible." And the doctor said, "Tell him I can't see him right now." We make people invisible because we're not makir then. And a husband and wife to not be makir. But makir by husband and wife is more than just makir. It's more than to just make a statement. I see you. You are there. I'm not ignoring you. I'm not passing you by and not offering you Shalom Aleichem. It's a message of, I appreciate you. I love you. I'm so makir toy to the Rabbi Shalom that I have you, that we're together, that we can work together, that we can build a shleimus, that we can build a life, that we have a family, that eternity is ours, that my koichas hanefesh can be actualized because of you. But unfortunately, there are marriages where there isn't communication. There was a comedian who used to say that it first occurred to me that my marriage might be in trouble when my wife won an all expenses paid vacation for 2 to Hawaii, and she went twice. But it's not a joke. It's not funny, and you see people starting to live separate lives. You see that a relationship that could have been the most beautiful, harmonious blend of an interdependency of the highest accord, it becomes a relationship of disassociation. It becomes a relationship of self-sufficiency and autonomy. And it destroys all of the consonance and congruity, the ishta kegufa, the beauty of this unit called a husband and wife. Where does it begin? By not prioritizing a lot of times. By not appreciating what the chashivas of what one has, to understand his priority of priorities. He didn't learn the sugya well. He didn't understand what was before him. He didn't understand the chashivas of good communication. He didn't devote enough time to it. And at times he thinks he's communicative when he's not. And he's really holding much inside, or she is holding much inside. And then it becomes worse. Rachmana litzlan, they're afraid to talk to one another. I can't say that to my husband. I can't say that to my wife. She explodes. He gets ballistic. We can't talk. And of course that happens at times, but that's not the ideal. It demands time and patience. Schmoozing. Schmoozing is important. With one's spouse, with one's children. Just to schmooze. No, I'm afraid I'll say Lashon Hara. I'll say don't say Lashon Hara and shmooze. Shmooze. The home has to have that atmosphere of simcha. The streets are much too close. It's not like when I grew up. We had our problems, but the streets were still the streets. The streets are in the homes. The streets are there. Everything's available. It's all there. It used to be a time, you lived in New York, so you said, oh, the schmutz is in Manhattan, certain parts of Manhattan, that's where the schmutz is. So as long as you're 30 miles away, Far Rockaway, you're removed. It's not true anymore. It's everywhere. If our homes are not places of simcha, of joy, where children want to be, where the atmosphere is diffused with this love of family, love of spouse, love of this life, love of Shabbos and Yom Tov together, love of working together, then we're in trouble. We have to schmooze with our children, we have to talk to them, we have to laugh with them, we have to play games with them, and it all takes time and it's hard to juggle, and I don't have the answers. But I do know one thing, that this is a priority. This is chashuv. Chazon Ish said that Al Tarba Sichim Ayisha, which is a difficult mission to understand. It says don't talk excessively to a woman. And it's even true about one's own wife. Kavachaymer be'ishes chaveiro, certainly if it's someone else's wife. Chazon Ish said that not talking to one's wife certainly doesn't apply during the formidable years of marriage. And it never was meant per se to say not to talk to one's wife, as much as that a man has other things he needs to do, he has to learn, he has to make a parnasa. He can't simply be engaged in conversation a whole day in some type of loquacious manner, but of course he should talk to his wife. When Rabbi Eger lost his first wife, Lo Aleinu, and a second zivug was suggested, and they told him that it's not ideal for man to live alone, as if he didn't know that Gemara. Of course he knew everything, but, right? So he rejected the notion by saying that he can't simply marry just anyone. You have to consider that my Rebbitzin and I used to talk for hours each night. Rabbi Eger, the Gadol Ador. We used to talk for hours each night. That was a relationship. The Gedolei Torah had the most wonderful relationships with their wives. A normal, healthy relationship. Of mundane talk even. Their mundane was not our mundane. But our mundane is not mundane. The mundane talk of Reya Mahuvim, of beloved friends. It's a kiyum of speaking when one speaks with his wife or husband in a refined manner, of speaking in a Lashon Nekiyah, in language that is clean and refined and upbeat. And mutual respect that is shown through such conversation goes a long way in producing the peace and tranquility. And they fulfill the dictates of the pasuk, V'sivchar Lashon Arunim. One should choose the language of the wise. What better test to that is in the relationship between a husband and wife. Marriages demand tremendous chizik, ongoing chizik, reinforcement of feelings, of one's love and affection to his partner in life. That shows an appreciation for what one has. Nothing is cheapened in the process. People say, I can't say I love you too many times because it cheapens it. It's not important anymore. This is nonsense as far as I'm concerned. The bond is only strengthened. If you can't be communicative, if you can't tell your wife or your husband how much you love them many, many times during the course of a day, then it needs rectification. It's like going to the dentist. You go to the dentist and there's a deep cavity and a nerve is somewhat exposed, and you know how much that can hurt. You feel sensations that you've never felt. You never thought that there could be something as painful. But in marriage, people are exposed. So close, yet so delicate. So very, very vulnerable. And when the dentist tells you, we're almost finished, or you're a real soldier, you're doing great, so you're encouraged. In marriage, the chizik of one's feelings for his spouse, one's feelings for his children, and the demonstration of those feelings helps to take away the pain when there is discord. The chizik, it's chizik, it's chizik. It's chiyus. Constant infusion of chiyus to one another. Gemara in Brachos talks about